We're back! We're so back, it's like we never left. Let's just get into it, shall we?
First is the Vampire Nobleman build. For this playstyle, we're constantly losing health in exchange for more damage. We build up even more damage via consecutive attacks, bleed procs and riposts, while also recovering our own health with lifesteal abilities. Now let's break that down. At the center of this build, we have the Bloodsucking Crack tier, which will drain our health for 3 minutes while giving us a 20% damage boost to all our attacks. There are many passive health regen items that you can use to offset the draining effect. But no matter what you do, you can completely counteract it with passive buffs. So I'm taking a different, more active approach instead. Our main tool for health recovery is the Blood Tax Ash 4, which is this flurry of thrusts that recover us a decent chunk of health while dealing some heavy status buildup. This will synergize with our other method of recovering health, which is Malenia's Great Rune. Now, before you get any funny ideas, no, this will not recover health drained by the physic. But combining it with Blood Tax is a very good strategy. The many hits from Blood Tax will make use of the Great Rune's power, while also recovering their own chunk of health. This can easily save you from a bad situation, and is very satisfying to use. The other physic I use is the Thorny Crack tier, which again will synergize with the setup, because it increases damage with consecutive attacks. Now let's talk about our main weapon of choice, which is the Blood-infused Milady. A very elegant weapon fitting of a nobleman. It's also a very fast weapon with a great focus on smooth combos. In our offhand we have the Dragon Communion Seal. I use it to cast blood incantations to give this build more variety. You can also use it to cast Bestial Vitality for some passive healing, which again will not counter the draining effect, but will slow it down a little. I also use it to cast Golden Vow and Black Flame Protection for more damage and defense. The reason I chose Black Flame Protection instead of Flame Granting Strength is that not only does it last longer, but also it being a defensive spell means that we don't have to heal as much damage when we get hit, making it just a better spell overall. Dragon Claw is another spell that I like to use, because it can easily pass for a big Vampire Claw. Another weapon that I like to use in my offhand is an Occult-infused Beast Claw. For some reason, its attacks are cancelled by your right-handed light attacks, meaning that our weapons combo together better than they have any right to do. I have no idea why this happens, and it doesn't happen with any other weapon, but it's really fun to use. I mostly use it as a combo starter, because it makes us do this very small leap towards our enemies. I switch between two weapon arts on this weapon. One is Lifesteal Fist, which turns all small humanoid enemies into health packs for you. Of course this doesn't work on boss fights, unless they're NPCs.
What a sad state of affairs.
And so for them, I switch to Bloodhound Step, because it just really fits the theme. I don't usually like using Bloodhound Step, because it covers too much distance, making it hard to get back into the fight. But for the Beast Claws, their backstep attack covers some very long distance, making this a non-issue. They also have one of the best feint attacks in the game, because it covers a very respectable distance, unlike most of the others. For talismans, we have the Lord of Blood's Exaltation for a 20% damage buff when we bleed an enemy, the Blade of Mercy for a 20% damage buff on a repost, the Rotten Winged Sword Insignia for more damage with consecutive attacks, and the Gutskin Swaddling Cloth, which gives us some health with consecutive attacks. This is the look I went for, with Hoslo's armor, Messmer Soldier's Greaves, and the Fire Knight gauntlets. I also occasionally use the Hoslo's helm, which looks very cool.
If you're enjoying this video so far, do please consider leaving a like and a comment. It helps out a lot. I also have an announcement to make. Since there is 6k of you now, I figured it wouldn't hurt to make a Discord server for this channel. This is my very elaborate plan to have people to play Night Rain with when it comes out. Or you know, you could just come there, chat, ask questions, give feedback or suggestions, or even show me your own builds for me to judge very harshly. Shameless plug is over. Back to the video now.
Next up is the Undead Berserker.
With a name unlocked this edgy, it shouldn't surprise you that this build thrives on being on this thin line between life and death.
Now I know what you're thinking.
Oh, don't be so pretentious, Clanky. I know what this is. I've seen it in one-shot videos.
You're running out of ideas and you want us to play an easy-to-kill glass cannon build that no one will enjoy.
Right? Right? Wrong! Because this is actually a tank build with amazing survivability. Yes, I'm serious. And no, it's not just because we're using a shield.
Don't believe me? Let's test it against Radahn then. He's one of the hardest hitting bosses in the game. This is how much damage this attack does to a normal setup that only uses the Dragoncrest Great Shield Talisman for additional defense. As you can see, this deals around 40% of our health. This is how much damage it does to our setup. Again, just about the same amount.
But there are two key differences. First, our health is quickly going back up. And second, is that we can recover all of it by just attacking twice.
Because even though we lost 40% of our health, this is still a very small amount of HP. And so, we recover it very quickly with Malenia's Great Rune.
If that's not the coolest thing ever, I don't know what is.
So let's break this down. 3 months ago, I saw this video by Alpha Seagull, where he uses a similar setup to achieve this effect. I saw it and I was like,
By the way, subscribe to Seagull. the amount of stuff I steal from him is downright shameless. And for good reason too. He seems to find some of the coolest stuff in the game that almost nobody knows about.
And although he said you shouldn't replicate this because it's not that good, I simply begged to differ. This is genius, and I simply had to make my own version of it. At the center of this build, we have the Royal Remains set.
This set will heal your health up to 18%.
Which is where we want to stay at. I'm only using 3 pieces of this set because I like fashion, but you can use all 4 if you like.
You get 2 HP per second of healing per armor piece.
There are 4 items that we use that take full advantage of us being at low health. First is the Blue Feathered Branch Sword Talisman, which boosts all of our defenses by a massive 50% at this level. Then we have the Red Feathered Branch Sword Talisman, which boosts all of our damage by 20%. Then we have our Shield of Choice,
which is the Twin Bird Kite Shield.
This shield gives us a further 10% increase to our defenses and a 5% increase to our damage. Usually, these items are used as a crutch in PvP, and 2 of them are almost never used in PvE. And that's because they're just too situational. They're powerful but only work at low health. But here we're able to take full advantage of them at all times because we're always at low health. The final piece of the low health puzzle is our Robin Art of Choice, which is the Shriek of Sorrow. Now the way this works is that it gives you more of a damage boost the lower your health is when you use it. At full health it's 10%, but for our health it's a whopping 25%. By the way, the Shriek of Sorrow is a weapon buff, so don't get any silly ideas. For the physic, we're using the Opaline Heart here, which boosts all of our defenses by 15%. And of course, the Deflecting Heart here. If we time our block to an attack, the Deflecting Heart here will make us take 75% less elemental damage and consume much less stamina. But there is also the fact that if we deflect multiple times in a row, our damage is increased by up to 80% for 4 deflects in a row. This is what really elevates this build, giving us a total of a stupid 288% damage increase on a guard counter if all of our buffs are active at the same time, which isn't hard to do. We have 30 faith on this build, and so we have access to some utility spells, but what really matters is Golden Vow
and Black Flame Protection, because we do need the increased defense. For talismans, besides the 2 we mentioned, we have the Dragon Crest Great Shield for a 20% increase in physical damage negation, and the Blade of Mercy for a 20% increase in damage after a repost. And we will be doing a lot of these because of the Deflecting Heart here. The weapon I'm using is a Keen Infused Godskin Stitcher. The idea is that this is a thrusting weapon, meaning that it does piercing damage, giving us a 30% damage boost when we hit enemies during their attack animations. The piercing damage bonus only applies to physical damage, and this affinity combined with the Shriek of Sorrow mean that this is the only type of damage that we're dealing, so we're taking full advantage of this effect. For the look, we have the Royal Remains set, but I swapped the chest piece for the Death Knight's armor. It fits, and we're changing our entire look by just swapping one piece. Next up is the Gravity Knight build. The Gravity Knight just says no to rolling. That's right, we're heavy rolling with this build, and heavy rolling is mostly useless. And so we're mostly face tanking hits and recovering our health using Malenia's Great Rune. At the center of this build, we have the Spinning Gravity Thrust Ash of War. This has you jump into the air before charging into your enemies and just drilling into them with everything that you have. This skill is very fun to use because of how much distance it covers. You can sometimes use it against an enemy and just find yourself dodging the next attack because of this. This attack hits many times in a row, which will result in us recovering a good amount of health from Malenia's Great Rune. It also applies whatever status effect is on your weapon, and it deals piercing damage, meaning that it will deal more damage to your enemy if you hit them during the attack animations. The idea is to use this against bosses while they're attacking us. Our stacked defenses will reduce the damage that we take, and Malenia's Great Rune will quickly recover most or all of the health that we're losing, because of just how many times we're attacking. The weapon art will build up consecutive attack buffs from the Thorny Crag tier, and will also deal a lot of bleed build up, which will eventually cause bleed, dealing very high damage and buffing us through the Lord of Blood's Exaltation, which gives us a 20% damage boost when we bleed an enemy. Our weapon of choice is the Bleed Infused Greatsword. The Greatsword is just the highest damage Colossal Sword in the game. The Colossal Swords are the biggest weapon class that can use this skill, and so they deal the most damage and aren't any slower at using it. And this is the best one, so it's perfect for us. Our seal of choice is the Clawmark Seal, because it scales with strength, which makes it a natural fit for this build. I mainly use it to cast Golden Vow and Black Flame's Protection for more defense. We can also use it to throw rocks at people, or get some passive healing with Bestial Vitality. For talismans, besides the Lord of Blood's Exaltation, we're using the Shard of Alexander for more damage with the weapon art, the Dragon Crest Great Shield Talisman for a 20% physical damage negation, and the Verdigris Discus for a 10% physical damage negation as long as we're in heavy load, which we are. For the physic, besides the Thorny Crag tier, we have the Opaline Heart tier for a 15% increase in all damage negation. For the look, we have the Altered Banished Knight Helmet, the altered version of the Veteran Armor, the Veteran Greaves, and the Bolt God Gauntlets, which do have horns on them, and I think they fit well with the rest of the Veteran set, because it has horns all over. If you're wondering, the way we get this armor to look this slim is by literally making our character as thin as possible. I think this is a pretty good look for an armor set that is usually viewed as being ugly. Hey everyone, this was the 7th video in this series. You can find the older videos in the description below. And huge thanks to my 2 members.
This is getting out of hand. Now there are 2 of them.
And a new one of these next week? No promises though. Thanks for watching and see you then.